So hello everyone, I'm Ravi and I'm going to take you through the DILR solutions of the sets that were that appeared in CAT 2024 slot 1. So overall, if I have to look at it, DILR in this paper was not as difficult as DILR used to be in the previous years. There were 5 sets. For the overview of it, for the sake of the overview, there were 5 sets in DILR this year, which was different from what we saw in CAT 2023. In CAT 2023, there were only 4 sets, each of 5 questions. However, in CAT 2024, there were 5 sets, such that there were 2 sets, there were 3 sets of 4 questions each. So 12 questions in all here, and there were 2 sets of 5 questions each. So 10 questions in all here. As a result, the total number of questions also increased by 2. We used to have only 20 questions in the entire paper till CAT 2023. CAT 2024 through a new challenge in terms of the number of questions being increased. They increased by 2 questions. But were they actually challenging? We'll go ahead and try and solve the sets and see whether the level of difficulty increased or not. In my opinion, honestly, the level of difficulty has dropped a little bit, but let us see it. Let us see it through the sets in which way. The other thing to be noted duly in CAT 2024, the major change I would say is that out of these 22 questions, only 12 questions were MCQ questions, while the remaining 10 questions were non-MCQs, which we also call theta. Having said that, let's proceed and have a look at the first set. So here I have a set which seems like a set of games and tournaments. Yes, probably from the word tournament in the very first or the second line in the question itself, you can say that this is a set of games and tournaments. But let us try to break it down into smaller parts and try to understand what's happening here. So a game of quiet is played between 2 teams. 6 teams numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 play in a quiet tournament. These teams are divided into 2 equal groups. First of all, the first data point we have with us is that there are 6 teams. 6 teams which are divided into 2 groups. Let us say group 1 and group 2. Let us call it group A, group X, and group Y for a moment. Okay, there are 6 teams. The team names are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The teams are denoted by numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Now, in the tournament, each team plays every other team in the same group only once. Okay, let's do one thing. We have called this group X and group Y now. Let's do one thing. Let us actually form 2 groups, 2 random groups, and try to understand what's happening over here. Let us say that group X, assume that group X had 3 teams, 1, 2, and 3, while group Y had 3 teams, which are 4, 5, and 6. Now here, there are some rules given about how the matches will happen. Each team plays every other team in the same group exactly once. That means 1 will play against 2 exactly once, 1 will play against 3 exactly once, and 2 will play against 3 exactly once, because these are teams within the same group. Each team plays every other team in the same group exactly once. That is what this statement is stating. So if I were to look at only matches played by 1 for a moment, then 1 will play 1 match with 2, 1 will play 1 more match with 3. Okay, I'm only looking at one's perspective. From one's perspective, let us look at it. And then each team in the other group exactly twice. Each team plays with each team in the other group exactly twice. That means 1 is bound to play with 4 also, 1 is bound to play with 5 also, and 1 is bound to play with 6 also. But each team plays with each team in the other group exactly twice. That means 1 is going to play with 4 twice, 1 is going to play with 5 twice, and 1 is going to play against 6 also twice. So in all, if you count the total number of matches in which 1 is going to participate, team number 1 is going to participate, it is going to be 8. in such a way that it is going to play 1 match each against 2 and 3, 2 matches each against 4, 5, and 6. Right? Here, 1, 2, and 3 being in one group and 4, 5, and 6 being in the other group is just an imagination. It's just an assumption as of now for me to understand how many matches each team will be participating in. The tournament has several rounds, each of which consists of a few games. Every team plays exactly one team in each round, exactly one game in each round. Every team plays exactly one game in each round. So if these are the 8 matches played by team number 1 in this kind of an arrangement, then these 8 matches have to happen in 8 different rounds. Every team plays exactly one game in each round. So using this data, what is it that we can figure out? What is the number of rounds in the tournament? That is the very first question, guys. You didn't even require to actually solve anything for this. Only if you spend 2 to 3 minutes on the setup of it, on the first paragraph of it, you would have been able to answer this question. The number of rounds in the tournament must be 8. Why? Because each team will play 2 matches against the 2 other teams. Each team plays 2 matches against 2 other teams in the same group. So that is 2 matches, and it also plays 6 matches, 2 each against 3 teams in the other group. So each team gets to participate in 8 matches, and every team plays exactly one game in each of the rounds. Hence, the total number of rounds has to be 8, and that is 3 very easy marks at the outset. Okay, I'm going to delete this part of it because right now we were only assuming कि ऐसा हो रहा है. Let us now get into understanding the data which is actually given for the solution part of it. Now, each team played against a team from the other group in round 8. So in round 8, so there are 8 rounds. So we will have to somehow try to represent 8 rounds. Let's try and do that. करके देखते हैं. Let us try to represent 8 rounds. How can we go about it? We can simply say round 1, round 2, round 3, round 4, round 5, 6, 7, 8, and let us study the behavior of each of the rounds. Now every round has 3 matches. Why? Because each team has to participate in exactly one match. Right? तो एक मैच में 2 teams हो जाएंगे, 2 matches में 4 team हो जाएंगे, 3 matches में 6 teams. All 6 of the teams will be taken care of. Right? So these are the 8 rounds. Okay. So if you look at it, the vertical lines I have drawn are 2 grids apart. Why? Because each match will have 2 teams and I will have to put in 2 numbers in that. Let us try to understand the data given and try to fill this table using that. Okay, in every round there are going to be 3 matches. Let's try to understand that part. Now, each team played against a team from the other group in round 8. So in round 8, we don't know what is going to happen because we still don't know. We only know that each team is going to participate against a team from the other group in round 8, but we don't know what the 2 groups are. So is points I can't take much information or much juice out of it right now. Let's try to look at the second point. In round 4 and round 7, the matchups, that is a pair of teams playing against each other, were identical. Round 4 and round 7 had the same fixtures. Round 4 में जो matches हुए, round 7 में वो matches हुए. Now, what does it tell us about the nature of round 4 and round 7? If round 4 and round 7 have the same fixtures, that means a team which is playing against another team in round 4, it is repeating the same match in round 7. That means all matches are happening between 2 teams from the opposite groups. Also, in round 5 and round 8, the matchups were identical. Round 5 and round 8 also had identical matchups. Round 5 and round 8 had identical matchups. That means what we can conclude is that round 4 and round 7, because they have the same matches, all matches must happen between opposite groups. Round 5 also, all matches must happen between opposite groups. Round 7 also, all matches must happen between opposite groups, teams from opposite groups, and all matches in round 8 also must happen among teams from opposite groups. This is the information we can conclude from the first and second statement. Finally, some fresh air to breathe. Team 4 played team 6 in both round 1 and round 2. Woohoo! Team 4 played against team 6 over here. 4 versus 6 was one match in both round 1 and round 2. Team 1 played team 5 only once, and that was in round 2. Team 1 played team 5 only once, and that was in round 2. Now, what is additional information we can take out from this? What is additional information we can take out from this? See, basically, there are two separate groups of 3 teams each. If team 4 gets to play twice, that means once in round 1 and round 2 against team 6. That means team 4 and team 6 must belong in 2 different groups. Team 4 and team 6 must belong in 2 different groups. And if team 1 plays with team 5 only once, ye kab hota hai? You play only once against a team that is in your own group. So 1 will play against 5 only once. That means 1 and 5 must belong in the same group. Now either 1 and 5 will both go and pair up with 6 in the same group, or 1 and 5 can both go and pair up with 4 in the other group. Okay. So 1, 5 and 4 could be a part of the team, or 1, 5 and 6 could be a part of a team. Now let's look at this question. Which of the following was not a part of the same groups? See, अभी तक अपने अंडरस्टैंडिंग के हिसाब से either 1, 5 and 6 will be a group, or 1, 5 and 4 will be a group. So if 1, 5 and 6 are a group, then 2, 3 and 4 are a group. In that case, out of 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 is the odd one out, one single answer we are getting. Right? Nahi. If I take 1, 5 and 4 to be a group, then 2, 3 and 6 are a different group. Now, out of which you can see 4 and 5 in one group over here, out of the numbers given over here in the question, and 2 and 3 in another group. You can't find a definite answer in this case, but it has to be a definite answer question. What does it tell you? It tells us outright that the two teams are 1, 5 and 6 is one group, and 2, 3 and 4 must be the other group. Even otherwise, there must be enough data for us to figure it out without using the question. Let us look at it. 5 is the odd one out. That is my answer to this question. But let us look at figuring out the data here itself. Team 3 played team 4 in round 3. Team 3, 4 played against 3 in round 3. Team 1 played team 6 in round 6. In round 6, team 1 played against team 6. In round 6, team 1 played against team 6. In round 8, see, whatever happens in round 8 also happens in round 5. Remember, in round 8, team 3 played team 6. Very good. Round 8, team 3 played team 6. So 3 and 6, the same fixture must happen in round 5 also. So team 3 played team 6 in round 8, and also in round 5. That means 3 and 6 belong to a separate group, different groups or opposite groups. So 3 idhar chala jayega. 3 will go to the other group. Now if 1 and 5 together have to go into the same group, that can happen if and only if 1 and 5 are pairing up with 6 in the same group. As a result, 2 will be in the other group. So the two groups of 3 teams, one of the groups, group X, for example, in our assumption is 2, 3, 4. The other group is 1, 5 and 6. And hence, the answer to this question, Pakka, is going to be option 1, which is 5. Right now, 1, 5 and 6, 2, 3 and 4 are two separate groups. Team 2 played team 5. In round 8, team 2 played team 5. Team 2 played against team 5. Team 2 played against team 5 in round 5 also, because 5 and 8 have the same fixtures. Now in round 8 and round 5, we can see only 2 teams left and 1 match left. Kaun sa hoga? That is going to be 1 versus 4 over here and 1 versus 4 over here also. 1 versus 4 over here and 1 versus 4 over here also. Now let us look at in the table, about which team do we have the maximum information? You can see 4 appearing 5 times in the table already. 4 versus 6 in the first round, 4 versus 6 in the second round, 4 versus 3 in the third round, and 1 versus 4, 1 versus 4 is happening in the 5th and 8th round. Let us look at the question from the perspective of 4. Now 4 ke kya matches honge? 4 has to play against 3, 4 has to play against 2. These are 1-1 match each. 4 will play against 5 twice, which is not done yet. 4 will play against 6 twice, which is accounted for in the table already. 4 will play against 1 twice because opposite teams. That is also accounted for in the team. Now 4 has to play against 5 twice. When is it going to happen? When can it happen? We know that round 4 and round 7 must be the same fixtures, and they must have matches conducted only between 2 teams from opposite groups. We already know that. So in that sense, 4 versus 5 is going to happen in round 5 and round 7. We are left with only one match for team numbered 4. In which round is team number 4 ka match left? Only in round 6 we haven't accounted for the match for team numbered 4. 4 versus 3 is already there in the table. In round 6, team 4 will play against team 2. In round 6, team 4 will play against team 2. And I think there's a question related to this. What is the number of the team that played team 1 in round 5? Team 1 in round 5 played against team number 4. Right? So first 3 questions done. What is the number of the team that played against team 1 in round 7? Acha, team 1 in round 7. There must be some way to figure it out. Isn't it? There must be some kuch to apan miss kar rahe honge, which we can probably add and figure it out. Let's look at जितना डेटा हम लोग इसमें भर सकते हैं. Let's try to fill it out each of the stage wise, each of the rounds wise. Now, what else do we know? We here in round 7, whatever match happens, whatever fixture happens in round 4, the same fixtures happen in round 7. Now, the teams that have to play against each other, just look at it. Against each other twice, मतलब opposite groups के जो matches है, opposite groups के जो matches है, 2 का 5 के साथ हो गया. 2 has played against 5 twice. 2 cannot play against 5 in round 4 and see 2 has to play against someone in round 4 and round 7, right? Because 5 is playing against 4 in round 4. 5 is playing against 4. Look at this. 5 is playing against 4 in round 4 and round 7. And we already know that 2 has already played with 5. 2 has already played with 5. There is 3 who is yet to play against 5. There is 3 left who is yet to play against 5, which cannot happen in round 4 and round 7. So 5 in round 7 is gone. Round 4 and round 7, mein 5 is taken care of, 4 is taken care of. Let's look at the perspective of 6 for a moment. Right? Now 6 has to play the matches that 6 will play. 6 will play against 4 twice, which is already happening in round 1 and round 2. 6 will play against 3 twice, which is already happening in round 5 and round 8. 6 has to play against 2 twice. 6 has to play against 2 twice, which can only happen in round 4 and round 7, because round 4 and round 7 have the same fixtures, or repetition can happen only in round 4 and round 7. So in the 4th round and the 7th round, we can say 6 is playing against 2. 6 is playing against 2. Now, if you look at round 4 and round 7, there is only one entry left, one match left. That match must be between 1 and 3. Here also that match must be between 1 and 3. Round 6 also we only have one entry left. What is that entry? 1, 6 is done. 4 versus 2 is done. The other match must be between 3 and 5. The other match must be between 3 and 5. So using this, what else can we answer? What is the number of team that played team 1 in round 7? Round 7, I think we are through. Team 1 in round 7 must have played against team number 3, and that should be our answer. Team 6 in round 3. Team 6 played against which team in round 3? That is the only thing yet to be decided. Team 6 played against which team in round 3? Now, Team 6 के total matches क्या है? We have already taken care of 6 versus 2, 6 versus 3, and 6 versus 4. 6 has to play one match against 1, and 6 has to play one match against 5. Out of which I think 6 versus 1 is already present in round 6. That is also taken care of. Only one match of 6 is left, and that one match of 6 must happen in round 3 versus 5. So 6 must play against 5 over here. As a result, yahan pe bhi there's only one match left. If you wish to, you can find the entire fixtures, but that is not required for us to answer this. Team 6 in round 3 plays against 5. So the answer to this question must be 5. Using which you can obviously fill the entire data over here. We have 3 versus 4, 5 versus 6. One match here is 1 versus 2. Here we have 4 versus 6, 1 versus 5. One match here is 2 versus 3. And abhi using the remaining data, we can, so one has to play some match over here. One has already played against 3 twice. One has already played against 4 twice. One has to play against 2 twice. But so far, one has only played against 2 only once. That is in round 3. So one will play against 2 over here. 1, 2, 4, 6 is done. So 3, 5 is going to be the other match over here, which is the total all 8 rounds, all 3 matches ka fixtures. But you actually did not require to find all fixtures to be able to answer the 5 questions that were to follow over here. So this is a set which could have been done if you give it a good 12 to 15 minutes time in the paper. It could have been done without any flaws if you were patient enough to find out the individual fixtures of each of the teams and put it across. I have deliberately gone slow in the explanation so that every step that I have taken is very clear. Otherwise, the speed at which you could have worked about this question if you faced this in the exam, I think 12 to 15 minutes would have been an ideal time. I mean, 10 to 12 minutes also for those who go very fast to, and those who have the habit of looking at the questions before solving the entire table. One could have realized that the first 3 questions could have been solved in a jiffy. You would have required some additional time to solve the remaining 2 questions. Let's take a look at the second set of 5 questions, which is based on voting. Now, this is a set that after the paper, when I inquired with a lot of students, they said that they left it because it looked like a lot of setup kind of it. But the key to this question was, if you read the setup, then these could be the easiest 15 marks floating around in the paper, because there was nothing to be done as such to be able to answer any of those questions. ऐसा कोई बहुत बड़ा table या कुछ ऐसा working बहुत कुछ था नहीं. Each of the questions was a separate case, and depending on that case and given and depending on the information given about that particular case in the 5 points that are there, one could have easily answered these questions. So let's go ahead and try to look at what is it that we can take out of this. So first of all, there are 2 students, Amiya and Ramya, who are the only candidates in an election for the position of class representative. Students will vote the based on the intensity level of Amiya and Ramya's campaign. Intensity level of campaigns. Each campaign is said to have level of 1. So level 1, if it is a stayed campaign. So there is a stayed campaign for which you give 1 mark. That is one level. Level 1. Okay. And level of 2, if it is a vigorous campaign. So a vigorous campaign is a level 2 campaign. Now, campaign can be of 2 types. They can either focus on issues or attacking the other candidates. Now, within stayed campaigns and vigorous campaign, again, there can be 2 types. One is focusing on issues. 2 is attacking the other person. One is focusing on issues. 2 is attacking the other person. Right? So this is the basic guideline that is given. Now, if Amiya and Ramya both run campaigns focusing on issues, then the percentage of students voting in the election will be 20 times the sum of levels of campaigns of the two students. For example, if Amiya and Ramya both run vigorous campaigns, then 20 into 2 plus 2, 80% of the students will vote in the election. So what is the question saying? What is this statement stating? That if A and R, both of them are doing a level 2 campaign, then the total number of votes will be equal to 20 into 2 plus 2, which is equal to 8. If A and R are both doing level 1 campaign, then you could have a total of 20 into 1 plus 1, which is 40. So the number of votes that are possible, the number of voters that are possible, if both of them are running campaigns on issues, is as follows. So first of all, you can either have this case, you can have a case in which both of them are running 1,1 level campaigns. In that case, you have 20 into 1 plus 1, which is a total of 40% people will vote if both of them are running level 1 campaigns. If one of them is running a level 1 campaign, the other is running a level 2 campaign, then you will have 20 into 1 plus 2. 60% of total voters registered will vote. And if you have both of them running 2, 2, then you have 20 into 2 plus 2. 80% of the total voters registered will vote. That means maximum. Agar tum dekho, to maximum 80% of voters will only vote. You cannot have more than 80% of voters voting at all. Because even in the best case, when both of them are running vigorous campaigns, 20% are lazy enough to not vote at all. Right? Given this information, let's try to understand और क्या होता है. Among voting students, the percentage votes of each candidate will be proportional to the levels of their campaigns. Okay, this is when both of them were issues. Both of them were focusing on issues, right? Okay. Among the voting candidates, percentage of votes per candidate will be proportional to the level of campaigns. So, for example, if Amiya runs a state campaign while Ramya runs a vigorous campaign, then the Amiya will receive 1/3 because Amiya's weightage is 1. Out of 1 plus 2, in this case, Amiya gets 1 and Ramya gets 2. So, Amiya will receive 1/3 of the total votes while Ramya will receive 2/3 of the total votes, right? So, that is how we have to divide it. The above mentioned percentages change as follows if at least one of them runs a campaign attacking the opponent. So when attacking campaigns happen, at least one attack, attacks, then what happens? The first case is if Amiya runs an attacking campaign and Ramya runs a campaign focusing on issues. So Amiya is attacking. Ramya's campaign is still on issues. Now, these could be either state campaigns or vigorous campaign, but nature of the campaign, if it is attacking campaign or issue campaign, if Amiya is running an attack-based campaign and Ramya is running an issue-based campaign, then 10% of the students who would have otherwise voted for Amiya will vote for Ramya. So, Amiya is going to lose 10% of A votes. They will change their votes and they will go and vote to Ramya. Plus, so Ramya is going to gain 10% of A votes. And another 10% who would have otherwise voted for Amiya will not vote at all. So Amiya is going to lose another 10% of Amiya, and these people are not going to vote at all. So these people are going to be absent. So in all, if we look at this picture, what is happening to Amiya and what is happening to Ramya in this case, if Amiya is going to attack and Ramya is going to run a campaign based on issues, then the total loss to Amiya is 20% of A, while the total gain to Ramya is 10% of A. That means how many people are dropping from the campaign? A total of 10% of A are completely dropping from the campaign. A total of 10% of A are dropping from the campaign, so that 20% of A is lost from Amiya, out of which 10% is given to Ramya. ये हो रहा है. Let's look at the second case. If Ramya runs a campaign attacking Amiya and Amiya runs a campaign on issue. So now Ramya is attacking. and Amia is on issues, then what? Then 20% of the students who would have otherwise voted for Ramya will vote for Amia. So minus 20%, they change votes. And where do they go? They go ahead and vote to Amia. So Amia gains 20% of our votes. Amia gains 20% of our votes. Okay. And another 5% who would have otherwise voted for Ramya will not vote at all. So Ramya will lose another 5%. They will be absent. So if you look at the overall thing over here, you will find that Ramya is going to experience a loss of minus 25% votes that Ramya would have otherwise received in this case. And Amia is going to experience a gain of 20% of the votes that otherwise would have voted to Ramya. Otherwise, yani, in the first case, if both of them were focusing on issues. Okay? Right? In the third case possible is both of them attack. Both attack. Then 10% of the total students who would have otherwise voted for them had they run campaigns focusing on issues will not vote at all. So Amia will lose a total of 10% votes. Ramya will also lose a total of 10% votes. Overall, there will be a 10% vote loss. Now you cannot add these 10 and 10 and say कि total votes 20% se kamange. 10% of Amia plus 10% of Ramya is 10% of total. So totally there is going to be 10% loss, but both Amia and Ramya are going to be in loss if both of them run attacking campaigns. Now that is the information given in these 5 points, using which we have to answer any of the questions that has to follow. Let's see kaise karna hai. Now if both of them run stayed campaigns attacking each other, first of all, stayed campaigns means both of them are going to get, stayed campaign is 1. The total number of votes that will be there is 20 into 1 plus 1, which is equal to 40%, right? Then what percentage of students will vote in the election? If both of them are running campaigns attacking each other, what did we say? If both of them attack, then there is an overall 10% loss of total votes. That means Amia is going to lose 10% votes. That is out of, if both of them are running state campaigns, 40 may say Amia will get 20 and Ramya should have got 20, out of which Amia is going to lose 10% and Ramya is going to lose 10%. As a result, 18 will vote for Amia and 18 will vote for Ramya. 36% votes will be there. Or even otherwise, you could have said total 40% votes message, the overall loss is going to be 10%. So 40 minus 10% of 40, which is going to be 36. That should be our answer to this question. What is the minimum percentage of students who will vote in the elections? Now, here we already know that 36 people are voting here. 36% is voting is happening here. Minimum number chahiye apne ko. So any option greater than 36 is anyway out of question. Now the point is, can we get a 32 anywhere? Can we get a 32 anywhere in any case? See, please understand the overall loss of votes in this case. Low votes are being lost. मतलब overall total number of votes में से कुछ voters will not come to vote at all. In which case, if at least one of them is attacking, right? So overall loss in votes here is only 10% of Amia's votes. Here it is only 5% of Ramya's votes, and here it is 10% of overall votes, which is going to be the maximum. Overall loss, maximum loss is going to happen here only. Maximum loss is going to happen here only, because you look at it here, the overall, if you look at the total number of votes, the total loss, number of voters who are not going to turn up at all. In this case, it is going to be 5% of R, which is going to not come at all. In this case, it is going to be 10% of A who are not going to come at all. But here it is 10% of total who are not going to come at all. So in which case is the loss maximum? Loss is maximum in this case. Overall loss is maximum in this case. When overall loss is maximum in this case, number of votes minimum is going to be in that case only. And in that case, we already saw 36% votes will be polled according to question 1. If both of them are even running stayed campaigns, total 40 means a 10% overall loss. 36 is going to be the answer. If Amiya runs a campaign focusing on issues, then what is the maximum percentage votes that she can get? Now, Amiya is focusing on issues. If Amiya is focusing on issues, if both of them focus on issues and both of them run vigorous campaign, in that case, total 80 may say 40 will go to Ramya and 40 will go to Amiya. But what is the question asking us to do? What is the goal of the question? Maximize the goals that Amiya can get. Amiya को maximize करने के लिए what can we do? Now 40 से ज्यादा होने का chance कहाँ पे होगा? When Ramya is attacking while Amiya is focusing on issues. Ramya is attacking, Amiya is focusing on issues. Amiya is focusing on issues here. So Amiya is focusing on issues here. In this case, if both of them run vigorous campaigns, if both of them run vigorous campaigns over here, what will happen? If both of them run vigorous campaigns over here, total number of votes polled will be 20 into 2 plus 2, which is 80. Out of this 80, Amiya was supposed to get 40 and Ramya was also supposed to get 40. But now Ramya is doing an attack campaign. This sentence. And Amiya is running an issue campaign. So what happens is 20% of 40, 20% of votes would have voted to Ramya. 20% of 40, which is equal to another 8 votes, will transfer here and get added to Amiya's count. As a result, Amiya is going to get 48% votes. That is the maximum votes that Amiya is going to get. That is the maximum amount of votes that Amiya is going to. See, please understand, Amiya is running attacking issue-based campaigns only in 2 places, here or here. In which case can we maximize Amiya's campaign? In the case in which Ramya is giving some votes away to Amiya. That happens when R is attacking and Amiya is working on issues. So it's a no-brainer. The answer should be that. If Ramya runs a campaign attacking Amiya, what is the minimum percentage of votes that she is guaranteed to get? What do we want to do? We want to minimize the votes that Ramya gets. First of all, if minimum votes चाहिए, so what will we do? We say that Ramya runs a stayed campaign. Ramya runs a stayed campaign. Okay. Ramya runs a state. If Ramya runs a state campaign, what is going to happen? What is the number of votes that Ramya is supposed to get? 20 into, if Ramya runs a state campaign and Amiya also runs a state campaign, in that case, total number of votes is 40, out of which Ramya is going to get 20. Ramya is going to get 20 and Amiya is also going to get 20. But what is our goal? Our goal is to minimize the number of votes that Ramya is getting. If we have to minimize, let us make Ramya do an attack campaign and Amiya in an issue campaign. Then what will happen? 20% of these votes will go over here. As a result, 20% of these votes is 4. Amiya will get plus 4 votes. Also, another 5% of votes, which is equal to 1 vote, will be lost at, because Ramya, another 5% who would have otherwise voted for Ramya will not vote at all. So as a result, what is the total number of votes that Ramya is losing? Ramya ends up losing 5 votes out of 20. So 20 minus 5, the answer should be 15. 15 is the minimum number of votes that Ramya will end up getting. What is the maximum possible voting margin with which one can win? One of the candidates can win. Maximum possible voting campaign. See, when both of them are running campaigns based on issues, there is no bartering happening. That means there is no change of votes from one person to other person. If we want to maximize the difference between the two, we will have to look at a case where one of them is attacking and one of them is focusing on issues. If one of them attacks, in this case, one of them is attacking and one of them is focusing on the issues, it can happen either in the first case or the second case. In which case do you see a larger, a wider gap here, because in this case, Ramya is going to lose 25% of votes. Here, Amiya is only losing 20% of votes. So, for the maximization of this, the margin with which anyone can win, we will take a case in which Ramya runs a state campaign. Ramya runs a state campaign attacking, and Amiya runs a vigorous campaign defending issues. Vigorous campaign on issues. In that case, what is going to happen? The total number of votes is going to be 20 into 1 plus 2, which is equal to 60. Out of 60% votes, because Ramya is running a state campaign and Amiya is running a vigorous campaign, here the weightage is 1, here is the weightage is 2, 1/3 of 60. Ramya is supposed to get 20 votes and Amiya is supposed to get 40 votes. Now, if Ramya is doing an attacking campaign over here, Ramya is going to lose 4 votes, which will go and add up to Amiya. And Ramya is also going to lose one more vote, which is not going to turn up at all, because Ramya is going to lose a total of 20 plus 5, 25%. As a result, Ramya ends up with 15 votes. Here, Amiya ends up with 40 plus 4, 44 votes. The difference between the two is 29, which is the largest among the options. That must be the maximum possible margin with which one candidate can win. So basically, this was a set in which there was not a lot of work to do. All of this that I have written is just to take notes, just to make you understand why I am doing this. मतलब किस किस केस में क्या क्या बनेगा. Otherwise, you could have simply read the question. If both of them are running state campaigns attacking each other, if both run attacking campaigns each other, question 1 could have been answered using just that one point. Question 2 could have been answered using the answer of question 1. So like that, individually per the case, you could have read 1 point each and gotten 15 marks in this set. And these were the easiest floating 15 marks out there. It's a 10-minute set that will probably end up giving you 15 marks. That being done, let's take a look at the third set. It's a candlestick arrangement, candlestick kind of representation. This appeared in one of our mocks also, right? So a candlestick typically is used in the stock market to understand the day's highest price, the opening price, the closing price, and the day's lowest price. So the chart below shows the price data for 7 shares, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, as a candlestick plot for that particular day. The vertical axis shows the price of the share in rupees. The share whose closing price at the end of the day is more than the opening price at the start of the day is called a bullish share. So bull mein opening is less than closing, or you can say closing is greater than opening. A good share. The share is gaining on that day, right? And then there is a bear. It is bearish share. Otherwise, if closing is less than opening price. All bullish and bearish shares are shown in green and red color respectively. Bull is green in color and bear is red in color. Okay? So now the first point is to understand how this is going to be useful, how to read this data. For that, enough information is already given. For example, in the case of A, you can see that A's lowest price for the day is lowest price for the day. What we can do is we can simply create a table and put all of these things also in that, right? In the worst case, मतलब अगर मेहनत करना है, then we can do that little bit of मेहनत. There are 4 things given about each of the shares, right? There are 4 things given about each of the shares, and there are 7 shares in all, right? There are 7 shares in all. 4 things given about each of the shares. So there are 7 shares: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, out of which there is a high price, there's an opening price, there's a closing price, there's a high price, and then there is a low price of each of the shares. That we can take, instead of putting it, again, instead of always reading the graph, we can create a table also and proceed with the questions, or according to the information asked in that particular question, you can directly look at the graph and answer the questions. I would have directly looked at the graph and answered the question, but for the sake of the solution, I am going to explicitly write down each of these things so that the calculation part is very clear to all of you. So here for A, for example, A, in the red color graph, this is the closing price and this is the opening price. So opening price is higher, which is 2200 here, right? 2200, right? Closing price is 1800. Day's highest price is always at the top, which is 2400. And day's lowest price is 1200. Okay. For B, the opening price is 2000. Whatever is red first, let us close those reds. B, opening price is at 2000, this one. This high price is also the same, 2000, because उसके ऊपर कोई stick है नहीं, तो वहां तक ही गया है maximum. Closing price is here, which is in between 1600 and 1800. This is 1700, the closing price. And the lowest price of the day was 1400. The lowest price in the day was 1400 for B. For C, if C and D will come back later, let us close all bears first. Let us close all bearish shares first. Let's look at E. E के लिए day's high price is 1400. The opening price is what? 1300. And the closing price is the bottom of which is just between 1000 and 1200. It is 1100. And the day's lowest price is also the closing price, which is 1100. And then we have another red, which is E. F. F के लिए day's high price is 2000. Day's lowest price is 1200. Day's opening price is 1800. And closing price is 1600. All reds are taken care of. Now let's look at green. Green में C. Day's high price for C is 1400. Day's closing price is at 1200. Opening price and the lowest price are both the same, which is 800. Right? Let's look at D. In the case of D, we have highest price, which is 1200. Day's closing price, which is 1000. Lowest price, which is 300. And opening price, which is between 400 and 600, it is 500. And we are left with only G. G has 1900 as the highest price, lowest price as 1000, closing price as 1700, and opening price as 1200. Now that we have all of this data, this is good enough for us to be able to approach any question. This is good enough for us to be able to approach any question. We don't have to look at the given setup at all. Now, let's look at the questions. Daily share price variability, SPV, is defined as day's high price minus day's low price divided by average of opening and closing prices during the day. Day's high price minus day low price. So HP minus LP divided by average of closing and opening price, OP plus CP by 2, right? Which among the shares ACDF has the highest SPV on that day? A, C, D, F are the shares that we are interested in. A, C, D, and F are the shares that we are interested in. So high, what do we have to find? High price minus lowest price. For A, what is this ratio called? It is called SPV, right? So we are supposed to calculate SPV, which is equal to high price minus low price divided by average of opening and closing, right? So for A, how much is it coming out to be? High price minus low price is 24 minus 12, which is 1200, divided by average of opening price and closing price. Average of opening price and closing price is 2000. As a result, it is coming out to be 0.6. For C, we are only interested in A, C, D, and F, right? So let's look at C now. C के लिए highest price minus lowest price is 600. 1400 minus 800. Highest price minus lowest price 600. And opening and closing ka difference. Average of opening and closing is 800 divided and 1200 ka average. Average of 800 and 1200 is 1000. In the case of C also, you have 0.6, right, as SPV. In the case of D, the difference between high price and low price is 900. 1200 minus 300, 900. And the average of this is 750. Average of 500 and 1000 is 750. So this is like 1.2 times, right? And ACD and F is what we are interested in. The difference here is 800. 2000 minus 1200, 800 divided by average, which is 1700, which is close to 0. What? Whatever. This is 0.48 types, which is 0.47 types. Let's not bother about that. But what is the question asking? Highest SPV on that day out of A, C, D, and F belongs to D. D has an SPV of 1.2. Even otherwise, for those of you who want to answer this question very quick, see what is there in the denominator. The denominator is average price of opening and closing. जिसका भी average नीचे दिख रहा है boss. The average price of D is over here. The denominator is as small. The numerator is the difference between high price and low price, and it is almost the same for most of the stocks, right? The denominator is the least in the case of D. D had to be the highest any which way. Let's look at daily again SPV. Okay. How many shares had an SPV greater than 0.5 on that day? So we have already calculated for A, C, D, and F. We have to calculate for B, E, and G. Pure Mazduri, nothing else. High price and low price. The difference in B is 600 divided by 2000 minus 1100. 2000 minus 7 divided by average opening price. Average of opening and closing price. Average of opening and closing price is how much? 1850. 2000 and 1700 for B. Let's just check that. Opening price is here 2000 and 1700, 1850, which is around 0.4 ish, is 0.35 ish, is 0.34 ish. Okay, somewhere around that approximate value. Let's look at E. E ke liye high price and low price, the difference is 300, and the average of this is 1200, which is 0.25. And for G, the difference between this is 900. Very good. Upon the average of this is 1450. 14.5 into 6 is 14.5 into 6 is 87. So this is greater than 0.6. What is the question asking? For how many of this it is greater than 0.5? It is greater than 0.5 for A, for C, for D, and for G. So it is greater than 0.5 for 4 out of the 7 shares. The answer to this will be 4. Daily loss for share is defined as opening price minus closing price. Opening price minus closing price divided by opening price is the daily loss, right? Out of A, B, F, and G. A, B, F, and G are what we are looking at. A, B, F, and G. Out of A, B, F, and G, which has the highest daily loss on that day. Highest daily loss is what we are bothered about. OP minus CP upon OP. Okay, daily loss, which is OP minus CP upon OP. Okay, for A, OP minus CP is 400 upon 2200, which is 2 by 11, which is roughly 22%. Sorry, 2 by 11 is roughly what? 18%, 18.18%. Then we are interested in B. B के लिए OP minus CP is 300 divided by OP, which is 2000, which is 15%. Okay. And in the case of F, it is 200 divided by 1800. In the case of F, it is 200 divided by 1800, which is equal to 2 by 18, 1 by 9, 11.11%. And G के case में the numerator is going to be negative because OP is less than CP. Opening price is lesser than closing price. We don't need to calculate for G. Out of these three, A has the highest daily loss. That is 18%. A has the highest daily loss. Okay, what would have been the percentage wealth gain for a trader who bought equal number of all bullish shares at opening price and sold them at day's high? Okay, now there is one guy who is buying all of the bullish shares, that is C, D, and F, and equal number of shares he is buying. Let us say he is buying one share each of them, right, at the opening price. So what are the opening prices of C, D, and F? He is only buying bullish shares which are going to make profit. Okay, C has an opening price of 800. D has an opening price of 500. D has an opening price of 500, and G. It should be G has an opening price of 1200. So this is what, if he buys all one share each of all of these, his total expenditure is 2500. Okay, what is the highest price for each of these shares? Daily highest price of C is 1400. The gain over here is 600. For D, it is 1200. And for G, it is 1700. As a result, the total money he is going to take at the end of the day is going to be 14 plus 12, 26 plus, oh sorry, this is G is 1900, 4500. So he spent 2500 and he received 4500. The gain is 2000 upon 2500 into 100, which is 80%. Option 2 should be the correct answer. So this is another sitter of a question that was sitting idle in the paper. Abel mujhe maar, 12 marks per you kind of a question, which I think everyone should have done in the paper, and I hope everyone, each of one who is watching you has done this in the paper. So let's quickly go to the next question. Here we have a bar graph kind of question, a question that looks like outright a question of bar graph, but it is a beautiful integration of set theory within it with a little twist also to it. So this is perhaps the most challenging set in the entire paper, but not very, very difficult either. If you follow simple steps with the data that is given, it is not a very difficult question to be answered. So the chart below provides complete information provides complete information, no missing data, about the number of countries visited by Dheeraj, Samantha, and Nitesh in Asia, Europe, and the rest of the world. So Asia, which is blue in color here, blue, or what do we call it? Turquoise or teal, whatever it is. So Asia is blue, and this is dotted. Europe is dotted, and rest of the world is this horizontal bars, right? So in the case of Dheeraj has visited 3 Asian countries, 7 countries in the Europe, and 1 country in rest of the world. So Dheeraj ka 3, 7, and 1 is what we have. So we can have this over here: Dheeraj, Samantha, and Nitesh. And we have Asia, Europe, and rest of W, and total. Okay. So the total number of countries that Dheeraj has gone to, Samantha has gone to, and Nitesh has gone to is given in the bar graph. So what are the numbers in the bar graph? 3, 7, and 1 for Dheeraj. 3, 7, and 1. That means the total number of visits that Dheeraj has done is 11. The total number of countries that Dheeraj has visited is 11. When it comes to Samantha, you have 0 over here, 9 over here, and 4. 0, 9, 4. The number of countries that Samantha has visited is 13. And when it comes to Nitesh, it is 1, 6, and 12. 1, 6, and 12. Number of countries that Nitesh has been to is 19. When you add all of these, 11 plus 13 plus 19, you get 43. 11 plus 13 plus 19, you get 43. That is 43 visits. It doesn't mean that 43 countries have been visited. That is total number of visits that have happened. There is a possibility that Dheeraj and Samantha would have gone to the same country in Europe, and Samantha and Nitesh would have gone to the same country in ROW. That is also pretty much possible. So this is where it becomes a question of set theory also. So if you look at the nature of the questions and the nature of the data points, it is very clear that it will be set theory. So 32 countries were visited by at least one of them. So while 43 is the total number of visits, 32 is the number of countries visited by at least one of them. So if we were to draw a Venn diagram of the countries visited by Dheeraj, Samantha, and Nitesh, how would it look like? So Dheeraj has 11 visits, Samantha has visited 13 countries, and Nitesh has visited 19 countries, out of which we have to figure out who went where. Now, let us call this A, B. There are 7 regions in this: A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. G is all 3. Now, we know that according to this statement, at least 32 countries were visited by 32 countries were visited by at least one of them. That means A plus B plus C plus D plus E plus F plus G is going to be equal to 32. All 7 numbers in the Venn diagram taken together should add up to 32 countries. But everyone who is in D would have visited 2 countries. A plus B plus C plus 2D plus 2E plus 2F plus 3G. That will be equal to the total number of visits, which is 43. Because if I have to only look at D countries that were visited by D is going to be A plus D plus E plus G. Countries that were visited by S is going to be B plus D plus G plus F. And countries that are visited by N is going to be C plus E plus F plus G. This is what adds up to A plus B plus C plus 2 plus 2D plus 2E plus 2F plus 3G is equal to 43. From these two equations, what is it that we can figure out? We can figure out D plus E plus F plus 2G is equal to 11. Let us keep it aside for a moment. D plus E plus F plus 2G is equal to 11. Okay, that means A plus B plus C, what is it? We have to still figure out, but using the data, we will be able to figure out. USA in ROW is the only country that was visited by all 3 of them. Only country visited by all 3 of them is USA. So the value of G is 1. Only country visited by all of them is USA, which is under ROW. Only country visited by all of them is USA, which is under ROW. One country visited by all of them, which is USA, which is under ROW. Okay, there is no intersection of all three possible after this. China in Asia is the only country that was visited by both Dheeraj and Nitesh, but not Samantha. Both Dheeraj and Nitesh, but not Samantha, is this region E. There is only one common country that Dheeraj and Nitesh, but not Samantha, have visited. That is China in Asia. One, China, and that is in Asia. And that is in Asia. Right? France in Europe is the only country outside Asia which was visited by both Dheeraj and Samantha, but not Nitesh. Now, only country outside Asia, because Dheeraj and Samantha has zero visits to Asia. So anyway, Dheeraj and Samantha taken together could not have anything visited in Asia. So only country outside Asia which were visited by both Dheeraj and Samantha, but not Nitesh, is only France. So only one country is here, that is France, which is in Europe. Which is in Europe. Only one country is here, that is France, which is in Europe. Now we know the value of D, which is 1. We know the value of E, which is 1. We have to find the value of F. F is going to be, from this equation, F is going to be equal to 7, because D plus E plus F plus 2G is 11. So F is going to be 7. So there are going to be 7 countries over here. We have to figure out the combinations for that. Half of the countries visited by Samantha and Nitesh, by both Samantha and Nitesh, are in Europe. Half of the countries visited by both Samantha and Nitesh are in Europe. Before getting into the bifurcation of this, let's try to figure out countries visited by only Dheeraj, only Samantha, and only Nitesh. So here, Dheeraj ke total 11 mein se we have 1, 1 and 1, which has gone. So Dheeraj, outside in this circle, only Dheeraj. Countries visited only by Dheeraj will be 8. For Samantha, it is going to be 1 plus 1 plus 7, which is 9 is gone. So countries visited only by Samantha is going to be 4. In case of Nitesh, we already have 1 plus 1 plus 7, 9, which is gone. Out of 19, countries visited by only Nitesh is going to be 10. Only Nitesh is going to be 10. Now look at this statement. This is a very interesting statement. Half of the countries visited by both Samantha and Nitesh, are in Europe. F is the region which is visited by both Samantha and region, and it is 7. Kaise? Please understand the countries which are visited by both Samantha and Nitesh is not only F, it is F plus G. 7 plus 1, 8 countries have been visited by both Samantha and Nitesh, out of which half are from Europe. So that means out of this 7, 4 have to be from EU and another 3 have to be from ROW. 4 have to be from EU, another 3 have to be from ROW. Let us write it elaboratedly over here. So out of these 7, 4 will be in EU and 3 will be in ROW. Okay, I'm just going to erase this part. Right? 4 will be in EU and 3 will be ROW. What else? Now, if you look at Nitesh has to go to 12 countries in ROW. So far, you have 1 over here and 3 over here in ROW. That means out of these remaining 10, 8 must be ROW. Nitesh has only one country in Asia, that is China, that is covered over here. Nitesh will go to another 2 countries in Europe. Nitesh alone will go to another 2 countries in Europe. Now let's look at Samantha. Samantha has to go to 9 countries in Europe. 9 countries in Europe, out of which 1 France is covered here. 4 Europe are covered here in the intersection with Nitesh. So all 4 of them must be in Europe. All 4 of them must be Europe. Now let's look at Dheeraj alone. Dheeraj alone has to go to 7 countries in Europe, out of which 1 is covered here. That's it. So out of this 8, 6 will be in Europe he only goes to one country in ROW, which is already covered. He must go to two countries in Asia, out of which only one, China, is covered over here. So two countries will be in Asia. So that is the entire breakup, guys. That is the entire breakup. You have 6 Europe and 2 Asia over here, 4 Europe over here, 4 EU and 3 ROW over here. So let's write it here itself. 4 EU and 3 ROW. So that is what is the entire breakup of the countries within the continents visited by all of these people, using which we should be able to answer any question that follows. How many countries in Asia were visited by at least one out of Dheeraj, Samantha, and Nitish? What is total number of Asian countries you can see here? 2 over here and 1 over here. That's it. There are only 3 Asian countries taken together that these people have visited. At least one of them has visited. How many countries in Europe was visited only by Nitesh? Only by Nitesh in Europe, there are 2 such countries. There are 2 such countries. How many countries in ROW were visited by both Nitesh and Samantha? Both Ritesh and Samantha would have visited 3 ROW here and 1 more ROW here. 4 such countries in ROW were visited by both Nitesh and Samantha. How many countries in Europe were visited by exactly one out of Dheeraj, Samantha, and Nitesh? How many countries in Europe were visited by exactly one of them? So Europe 6 over here, 2 over here, and 4 over here. So the answer to this should be exactly one of them. 6 plus 4 plus 2, which is going to be 12. There are 12 countries in the Europe which were visited by exactly one of them. So that is what makes this set complete one. The set is tricky in terms of representation. आप कैसे उस Venn diagram के अंदर you put these numbers and break it down into different categories possible. One could also advocate the idea of solving this using a table. Most welcome, try that also. It is also possible to do that, but I would prefer a Venn diagram kind of an approach. Let's take a look at the last set in the paper. Now this, when I was taking the paper, this was the first set I faced and I felt it was pretty easy, but I ended up making a small mistake. I'll tell you what, but I'll also give you the proper solution to this. So there are 6 web surfers, M, N, O, P, X, and Y, who have 30 stars. Each had 30 stars. So the total number of stars, 6 surfers, each had 30 stars. 6 into 30, total number of stars is 180. Which they distributed among 4 bloggers A, B, C, and D. The number of stars received by A and B from the 6 web surfers is given in the figure below. All right. So what we know so far is that there are 6 web surfers. And 6 web surfers के पास कुछ stars है. And let us look at how do we go about it. Total number of stars in the question is 180. So let's look at how to go about formulating this into a simple table that could be useful for us to solve all the questions here. All right, so there are 6 web surfers. There are 6 web surfers who are M, N, O, P, X, and Y. All of them are giving some stars to A, B, C, and D, who are 4 bloggers. They are distributing stars among A, B, C, and D. Okay, so a simple table can be formed. The bar graph below is only telling us about the stars given to A, B, C, and D. And sorry, it is only telling us about the stars given to A and B, and nothing about C and D, which we will have to figure out using the additional data given. Which we may have to figure out using the additional data given. Let's simply form a table here. What we know so far is that all of them have exactly 30 stars with them. All of them have exactly 30 stars with them. All of them have 30 stars each with them. 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30. Overall, the total number of stars with them is 180. The number of stars, given that, okay, A and B ka jo diya hai. Now, A is this brick wala. So, A received 10 stars from M. A received 25 stars from N. From N, A has received 25 stars. From O, 0. From P, A has received 5 stars. From X, 0. And from Y, A has received 5 stars. The total number of stars that A has received is 45. Similarly, for B, B has received 25 stars from P. 25 stars from P. And 20 stars from Y. 20 stars from Y. As a result, and every other number is 0 because orange graph or kahi hai nahi. So B has also received a total number of stars which is equal to 45. Now we know already that everyone has only 30 stars. If you look at the row of P, P has already given away 5 plus 25, 30 stars. So P is going to give 0 stars to C, 0 stars to D. Right? Now Y is going to give 5 stars to one out of these people and 0 stars to one of these people. And O is going to give 30, X is going to give 30 to someone, M is going to give 20. I don't know. Okay, chalo. The total number of stars received by the bloggers were all multiples of 5, including 0. So the only numbers possible in the table are 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25. These are the only numbers, and 30. These are the only 7 distinct numbers that are possible in the table. और कोई number हो ही नहीं सकता है. और कोई number हो ही नहीं सकता है. Right? This is where our table ends. Right? Just to avoid confusion. Yeah. और कोई number नहीं है. Right? The total number of stars received by all the bloggers were same. So A received 45, B received 45, total 180. C will also receive 45 stars and D will also receive 45 stars. Chalo. Each blogger received a different number of stars from M. Now, different number of stars from M. M already has given 10 to A. Okay? And C and D must receive different number of stars. C plus D is equal to 20. So one of them, so the 4 different numbers which add up to 30 is going to be 0 plus 5 plus 10 plus 15, out of which 0 and 10 are already there in the table. One of them will receive 5 and one of them is going to receive 15. One of them is going to receive 5 and one of them is going to receive 15 from M. 2 surfers gave all their stars to a single blogger. Who are the 2 surfers who can give all their stars to the single blogger? To a single blogger. We know M is giving it to 3 bloggers. N is going to give it to at least 2. It's only O and X who can give all the 30 stars to a single blogger. It is only possible for O and X to give all the stars to a single blogger. It is only possible for O and X at this moment. So O and X will either give all the stars to C. O will give either all the stars to C or D. So if O can give 0 here and 30 here, or O can give 30 here and 0 here. Or if O has given 0 to C, then X will give 30 to C. These are the cases that are possible. Out of O and X, who do they give 30 stars? Out of C and D is an interchangeable case. D received more stars from C than Y. D received more stars than C from Y. Than C from Y. So Y has only 5 more stars to go. And D has to get more stars from Y than C. That is only possible if D receives 5 stars from Y and C receives 0 stars from Y. C receives 0 stars from Y. Now the problem is the 2 numbers that are left in the row of M we know are 5 and 15. If you look at D already, D is going to give 30 stars either from O or X. Another 5 stars here. 35 to ho gaya. Out of a total 45, D cannot receive 15 stars now from M because his total will cross 45, will surpass 45. That is not possible. So D is going to receive 5 stars from M, and C is going to receive 15 stars from 15. C is going to receive 15 stars from M. Now, if you look at C's column, he's going to get 15 here and 30 either here or here. That's it. So that is all that C is going to receive. If you look at D's 45, you already have 5 plus 5 plus 1 out of O and X who are going to give him 30. 40 plus 10, you already have 40. 30 plus 10, you already have 40. N is going to give 5 stars to D, and that is the set, guys. We cannot, however, determine whether O gave 30 stars to C or D, or X gave 30 stars to C or D. That is the only case that ends up being unresolved in this question. That is the only mistake I made in the paper. मैंने C का O को दे दिया था और X का D को दे दिया था. When I solved it in the paper, I made a mistake in hurry. So what was the total number of stars received by D? Total number of stars received by anyone was 45. It's a no-brainer kind of a question. After reading this point itself, you could have answered this question. What is the number of stars received from D by D from Y? D from Y is 5. D received 5 stars from Y. How many surfers distributed their stars among exactly 2 bloggers? Exactly 2 bloggers. M gave it to 3, N gave it to 2, P gave it to 2. M gave it to 2, N gave it to 2 bloggers, P gave it to 2 bloggers. O and X are only 1, M and N are 3. The question is asking exactly 2 bloggers. Number of people who have given surfers who have given stars to exactly 2 bloggers is N, with who has given to A and D, and P who has given to A and B. That's it. There are only 2 such people. Which of the following can be determined with certainty? The number of stars received by C from M. C from M can be determined certainly. It is 15. It is 15, certainly. Number of stars received by D from O. D from O could either be 0 or 30. So this cannot be determined. So only one can be determined certainly. So this is the set, guys. This is another 5-minute, 10-minute set at best. 12 marks up for grabs. At least even if you make that silly mistake that I made, there were about 9 minus 1, 8 marks out in this set within 8 to 10 minutes of time. And this was one of the sitters in the paper.